Welcome everyone. I'm Tracy Fitzpatrick and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Netcom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We are very excited to host today's webinar, Visual Analytics, Best Practices, Sharing, and Collaboration. And presenting today's topic will be Faycal. Faycal is a UI, UX designer and data visualization infographic specialist who excels at creating custom solutions in interaction and user-centered design, marketing, and communication. He aims to always exceed his students' expectations and beyond by developing products that help reshape the marketplace. His experience and broad set of skills enable him to address a variety of client needs from the concept stage to developing intuitive UI and prototype systems, as well as designing engaging infographics and data visualizations. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored to your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you'll get free access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. Netcom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We do have 9 practice areas in which we specialize. They encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the Data and AI practice area. Netcom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio of courses for the topic being covered today. Our upcoming classes include various trainings on the given courses. You can also access a variety of marketing assets, such as the free training and blogs, by clicking on the available event handout. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. Today's session will provide teams with critical insights about calculations, the best practice theory, and teach them how to share and collaborate using Tableau. You will also learn the do's and don'ts of great visualizations and how to design compelling, high-performing dashboards. And now I would like to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we get started. To begin with, you do have the option to view in full screen by clicking on the full screen button on the right side of the GoToWebinar viewer. Simply hit the escape key to exit the full screen. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters. Feel free to submit any questions you have for the presenters here in the questions pane, and we will address them at the end of the session. And to get the best out of today's events, we've included the slides, courses we talk about, and marketing assets in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer. You may refer to them at any time to get a better understanding of today's topic. And we do realize that some of you may have to leave early and want to let you know that as you do leave the session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to take a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience and improve our future sessions for you. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. And now I'd like to pass this over to our trainer to present today's topic. Hey, Faycal, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Faycal Bouguir, and I will be your instructor for today's webinar on visual analytics, best practice, and sharing and collaboration. So I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. I'm a data visualization and infographic designer. I've been training professionals in the topic for about 6 years. And I also teach at university this topic on data visualization here in New York, where I'm currently living. I'm an expert in data visualization infographics, and I have previous background as well in graphic design, in web design, and UI UX. In terms of experience, I've been working with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and I've trained a lot of these professionals in companies like Uber. I've trained also at Amazon Web Services, at some federal agency, including the Fed, the FDA, and also local government agencies here in New York City. So today we're going to look at different aspects of visual analytics, and we look at best practices and how to share, collaborate on your data viz project and your visual analytics. Okay, so today's agenda is going to cover 4 topics. Share data, so make follow-up requests and forward easy to digest the visualization to others so that you can get actual value from the data. We're also going to look at understanding the actual data and make informed decisions that are critical to your success. We'll look in third at best practices to design dashboard and story. So starting obviously from graphs, and we can go over some questions that can help you with your data analytics projects. So first, we need to think, what does it matter to create good visual analytics? So as you all know, the world of data visualization has exploded, and a lot of companies have needed more tools and more resources in that area because of obviously digital transformation, and so that they can explore and understand better their analytics. Tableau is also a tool that we use. I've been training a lot of professionals in Tableau, and it's recognized by many as one of the best tools for data analytics. In terms of visual analytics, our goal is first to understand the data that you're working with, to design your visualization to execute your visual ideas. So in short, the visual graph that's going to represent some insights on your data, and also to develop the ability to communicate those insights using those visualization. So in short, how do you use those Tableau dashboard or any kind of visual analytics dashboard to represent those insights? So I want to start with a principle that can guide you in your analytics from the start of your project till pretty much the execution of your project into the dashboard, and is the trifecta principle. What is the trifecta principle? It's a general framework for data visualization approach. And in that framework, you can think of your project in terms of analytics as 3 questions. The first one being, what is the practical questions you're trying to answer with that data? So what are the questions your business is really trying to address? What are the data that you have available or you can source for that particular analytics? And what does your chart that you create really say about the data? And ideally, we want the result of those 3 investigations to be one and the same thing when we create charts. So if I create a chart, it needs to be able to address the questions I'm trying to answer, but it also needs to really relate to that particular data, and that data has to be relevant to those questions and the graph to be able to get those insights. So how do we share follow-up requests and forward easy to digest visualization to others once we have created them? We need first to get the data needed for the analysis. So relating to that first question, what data do I have available for the analysis? We need to then select the right graph to map that data. So looking at the library of graph that's available in our application and creating those graphs. And then we need to think of pre-attentive attributes to guide that insight. So we'll see that, if we have a line chart, looking at the lines and looking at how we can represent those lines can help us dive into the analysis. We then need to communicate those insights. And the best way to do so is using storytelling so that we can get best impact to our particular audience. So let's think of the actual process of visual analysis. The visual analysis is really a non-linear process. When we start with the data, we see get data, we really need to think of first, how do we sort the data? How do we analyze the data firsthand? And really need to think as well of how we gather the data. Then we can think of the graph we're creating. And we can think of, which graph is going to best address that data set. Then we can start analyzing the data. We can view it in different graphs. And then we can start developing those insights to sort of sort, the best insight on the data and whether it addressed those particular questions that I mentioned in the previous slide. Then we can construct a story and start acting on it. But unfortunately, this is not a linear process. Every time we gather data, we need to start thinking of analysis, developing insight. And so that's why you have different arrows going in those different directions, because we might need more data. Again, we need to think of the principle of that trifecta. And so in order to answer those questions, we might need more data, we might need more graph. Now, if we go back to the data, which is our starting point, how data is structured in our application, in my case, using Tableau, is very important. And Tableau, for example, structure your data by qualitative and quantitative data, and then discrete and continuous. This is going to be the building block of every graph we create, and therefore will drive our insight in our analysis. So it's very important that we get the right data. In short, getting the field that we need for analysis, getting them in the format that is easily usable with enough variable separation. So in terms of deaggregating the data, so we can dive in more granular view of the analysis. And we need that data set to be well documented, because we might need to draw more information on that particular data set. Next, we will need to think of the graph that will represent that data set. And we need to think of the starting point. The starting point is really going to go back to that question, what do we want to answer with that data set? So in short, what we would like to show with this graph. When choosing this graph, it is really important to think of clarity and simplicity. A graph should not be overcomplicated in terms of visuals. It should be stripped down to the essential, which is how do we see the data, how can we interpret the data, how we can analyze that data. So we can think of 4 avenues, as the graph shows you here on the slide. And those 4 key analysis can be either we are looking to compare data, we are looking to look at the distribution of our data set, at the composition, or at the relationship between our variables or our fields in our data set. And then from there, we can dive into various graphs that will represent those 4 key ideas of representation of the analysis. The first one, in comparison, we want to compare things that are similar, or we want to look at the differences between, for example, discrete value for items or categories for an item. In terms of composition, we can look at the different size or part of a whole. In terms of relationship, we're looking at charts that display the relationship between variable in order to identify, for example, outlier, correlation, or even cluster of those data points. And then if you look at distribution, these charts are used to show the frequency in which value distributed across a range. So let's take an example. For example, if I want to look at the comparison of data over time, I could think of a line chart. In the line chart, I could look at several categories and then display the comparison of those categories over time. I will get, for example, lines that grow, lines that recede, or variation in those lines. and therefore can then understand more that data and analyze those lines, which give me answers on those questions. Another example, if I look at the relationship, if I take a scatter plot or scatter chart, I will have a distribution of point based on two variables. Therefore, I can look at the distribution and I can see cluster. And if I have some cluster, I have some information in terms of insights. Now, how do we make those choices in Tableau? We have a few tools, and the first one is the Show Me panel. So the Show Me panel is an interface that highlights charts that Tableau has preloaded, and it will give you 4 different charts. And these are pretty much a shortcut to create quick charts in Tableau. You can then customize those charts and then format them so that they get the look and feel that you need, whether for your branding or for the visual information you want to highlight in those charts. You will see that in Tableau, as you can see here in the window showing the panel for the Show Me panel. Every chart will let you know in the bottom of the panel how many variables you need, so how many fields and what type of fields you need. So in Tableau, based on the data set again, you'll be able to assess whether you can create those charts or not. And therefore, you'll have those possibility of analysis. So it's very important that when we look at that nonlinear chart that I showed you in the previous slide, is we really think of trying options. So starting with a chart and seeing whether we can draw any insight from that particular chart. If that's the case, that's great. If not, then we can try different other charts based on that data set that we're using. So we can use pre-attentive attributes to create a visualization in a way that draws insight. Pre-attentive attributes are information we can process visually almost immediately using what we call the Gelster principle, and we can then see patterns that are basically the key to our insights. These are a few examples. So the length of a bar chart, for example, the orientation of a point, the size can draw us to a particular insight. So if we map a particular field on the size, we'll be able to see, which ones are the largest, which are the smallest, and that can drive our analysis of that data. Let's talk now on visual best practices to design a dashboard and story now that we have a better understanding of creating graph. So the first is our methodology, and we can follow these 7 steps to create a dashboard. First is visualize the right data, choose the right visualization, and we saw in the previous slides how to do that. We can then calibrate the visuals to our message, remove unnecessary noise. Again, a chart should be stripped down of any embellishment, and then we can focus our attention on what is most important. So display on that dashboard the most important graph that are key to analysis. We can make our data approachable and engaging, so simplifying the title, for example, simplifying the colors, having a palette. Those elements can help us make the data more approachable. And then we want to instill trust in your numbers. So having key sources, all the information that's necessary to be able to analyze that data on the dashboard. These are a few guidelines as well that you may want to follow. Place the most important graph at the top of your dashboard or on the upper left corner. This will help the audience look at that data first and be able to follow a framework for the analysis. If your visualization has change interactivity, so for example, if the first visualization filtered the next viz, which filtered the last viz, etc., structure them from top to bottom, left to right, sort of like a clockwise structure. Limit as well the number of graphs to 3 or 4. This is because too many graphs will lose your viewer. You want to simplify your dashboard as much as possible while retaining all the elements of analysis. If you need to place more graph, then you can use multiple dashboard, and that's okay if you have multiple analysis. I'll show you an example at the end. Avoid using multiple color schemes in a dashboard or in graph as well, unless they are independent color scheme to your data. Again, simplify the visual. If you have multiple filters, you want to group them together on the side and place them in ways that is clear. So place the filter, for example, on the right, the top, the left of the dashboard. This will improve the visibility of your element, and it will improve as a result the analysis of your dashboard for your audience. How do you then share those dashboards to your audience? You need to think of storytelling. And storytelling requires a particular process, which I'll explain now. When you look at your data, we've seen that exploring it will help us create the particular graph that's going to give us insight. We can then explain that and share that explanation to our audience. How do we do that? We're going to use story point. The story points are elements on our graph that allows us to draw the analysis. Things like change over time, things like looking at the relationship between two variables, things that, maybe we have two lines that intersect on a graph. All those elements are key to our story and key, therefore, to our analysis. How then do we format those graphs? We're going to remove the noise, declutter our visualization. Things like grid line, legend, axis, label are elements that can be formatted, especially in Tableau. We're going to use meaningful text, which is going to help us in understanding the analysis on the dashboard. So have titles that are resonant with the analysis, that are clear. Maybe you need subtitle. Maybe you need additional information as text. We saw that colors are very important as well, and using a limited number of colors, we can use those to indicate pre-intensive attributes, to encode qualitative values, or to encode categories value on our graph itself. So this is an example. If we take a graph that has no color or too many information that are considered as noise, formatting it with those elements that I mentioned just earlier will give us a story on the graph. So we can clearly see that the text is highlighted to give us the key information. The bar chart also has more elements like the numbers, the colors, and we have now a story behind the data that can be easily digestible to our audience. These are key elements in terms of storytelling. So when we communicate the data insight with our story, we want to think of storyboarding. Storyboarding is building a story behind the data, and it can help us organize the flow of your story and determine what is essential to your data story. It also helps identify gaps that were more data is needed. It helps us identify gaps where more data is needed to support the story, and also present the overall narrative structure. Few steps in storyboarding. The first one is identify the main insight, determine the rising insight. So we start with the main insight, and we have maybe more insight that we considered as rising insight. And then empower the audience to act. So have call to actions based on your insights. All of this can be mapped into three areas. First is ethic and credibility in the way you deliver that story, logic and reason, because you are using facts and numbers from your data, and emotion, because you are creating a story. So you need to connect with your audience on that storytelling. Thank you for attending this session. I hope you enjoyed that topic. And if you have any question, let me know.
Thank you, Faycal. That was most informative. I know everyone is looking forward to the Q&A session, so go ahead and start putting your questions into the questions panel. And now I'd like to give the presentation rights over to Robin, our vendor manager. to introduce our promotions and webinar related courses.
Thank you for extending to me this opportunity to speak with our audience today. I would like to thank everyone for attending this session, and I sincerely hope that it added value to your knowledge related to visual analytics and its best practices. In case you feel like revisiting this session, you can do that by clicking on the access recording button, and we would be more than happy to make it readily available to you. Next, I would like to offer you a glimpse of Netcom Learning's capabilities and why we are the best that there is when it comes to learning services, training, talent development, and beyond. I take pride to announce that Netcom Learning is the winner of 2022 Microsoft Learning Partner of the Year award, recognized by Microsoft. And Netcom Learning earned this top spot out of 3,900 submitted nominations from more than 100 nations across the globe. Netcom Learning has been into the managed learning space for 2.5 decades now and have provided its services to 80% of the Fortune 1000 companies. Having a strong reputation in B2G sector, Netcom has served over 100 military bases. We have trained over 175,000 professionals to learn and grow in their respective fields across 16,000 enterprise clients. We cherish a recommendation rate of 96% from our customers. All the numbers I've just mentioned have been a result of our specially curated trainings delivered by a portfolio of 3,000 plus certified trainers. Moving ahead, being an authorized Tableau learning partner, I would like to announce Netcom Learning's upcoming schedules of classes for Tableau trainings that you can explore through this handout. To add value to your learning curve, we encourage you go through our free on-demand webinar and blogs from Tableau through this handout, and you can also explore the same on the resource section under our website. You can also take advantage from Learning Passport, which is Netcom Learning's solution to a flexible team training. It is designed to be customized in line with the number of learners you plan to train from top technology vendors like Microsoft, Cisco, Adobe, and more. The single package can be redeemed over 4,000 plus official courses with a validity of 12 months. Keeping in mind the requirement of our customers, you can also further choose from Learning Savings Passport or Learning Vouchers Passport as per the need and requirement. Next, I would like to introduce you to Netcom Plus Learner Subscription, a learning solution that we have developed for our enterprise customers. All you are required to do is invest one time and reap the benefits of unlimited access to authorized training from top technology vendors like Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, and more through a span of 12 months. As displayed on your screen, we deliver the subscription in three types of packages. One, the free package or the silver package that allows you an access to 300 plus e-learning modules, or you can go for the gold subscription at $199 that would give you an access to 400 plus e-learning modules along with the benefits of the silver package. Third, we have for you our best selling and most popular platinum package, which is available at $2,999 that give you an access to 400 plus e-learning modules along with 120 plus virtual instructor led trainings in addition to the gold package. We would also recommend you to go through Netcom Learning's website for more information such as courses and certifications, our free virtual events, blogs, and our promotions. In case you're looking for a leadership point of view on the importance of lifelong learning and building smart workforce, we highly recommend you go through the book Building an Innovative Learning Organization by Russell Sarder, CEO, Netcom Learning. You can easily find it on Amazon. I sincerely hope we could add value to your knowledge base in the time that you choose to spend with us during this webinar. For more information on such sessions and latest updates on IT and business trainings, please follow and give us a shout out on our LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter channels. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thanks so much for guiding us through all that information, Robin. And now we're going to go ahead and jump right into our question and answer session. If you haven't yet, it's not too late to pop your questions into the question panel. And as we start our Q&A sessions, we're also going to launch a quick poll that we want to invite you to participate in. Doing so helps us to know how we can better serve you by telling us who might be interested in more information or in taking some additional training. In addition, we have a lot more informative webinars coming up, so please go to netcomlearning.com/webinars in order to register. First question is, can I combine data from multiple sources in Tableau?
So yes, you can actually combine multiple data sources in Tableau, and it's recommended. As I was showing you earlier on those trifecta principle, you may have to combine multiple data sets to be able to analyze, those data, and that's recommended to be done in Tableau. Tableau offers many tools in combining those data. You can join the data, you can create relationship with the data, and that can be done with multiple data source. So correct, you can do that.
Next question is, can I create maps with my data in Tableau?
You can also create maps, yes, with your data set in Tableau, and Tableau offers a lot of tools when it comes to map. So anything from correlate map, point distribution map, any types of connecting data points on the map is possible in Tableau. And in addition, Tableau also offers some tools like the Mapbox Map integration. So Mapbox Map is a tool that's separate from Tableau. It's a sort of a plugin, and you can add an underlying map using Mapbox Map to represent a key map that you have created in Mapbox Map.
And finally, we have time for one more question. How do I share the dashboard I create with my team?
So there's various ways to share your dashboard. Tableau offers other tools like the Tableau Reader. And as you create your project, it's very important that you think of how you're going to save your project in Tableau. Saving it as a Tableau workbook will allow you to distribute it on the Tableau reader. If you save it in another format, it might be more useful to distribute it in a PowerPoint presentation, but bear in mind that you will not be able to interact with the data on the PowerPoint presentation. You can also share it using a web page, and you will then embed the project on the web page from Tableau.
Once again, I want to remind you that as you leave the session today, you will be presented with a short survey. We would like to request for you to help us by taking a quick moment to participate in that survey. Your feedback really helps us understand your learning experience as we are constantly looking at how we can improve our future sessions. The survey answers are measured on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 representing outstanding and 1 representing poor. We want to thank all of you for joining us today, and if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everyone.